Well, it's the Tuesday episode of the Locked On Pelicans podcast, and I guess there's not really much to talk about. Just kidding. The Pelicans won a game over the Chicago Bulls. Let's talk about it right now.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And now the number one sports podcast network in the nation, number one. That's like Zion Williamson, who played today and played well. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join over 12,000 Pelicans fans here on YouTube as well. You can also watch us over on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. That's where you're already watching your Pelicans games if you're a local, and so just hang out over there before the games start. We play, we talk. Come hang out with us. I'm your host for today, Pelicans insider, credentialed member of the media, Dylan Sanders. You can find me over on Twitter at Dilly Sanders, and I'm also the publisher of Pelicans Roundtable. It's a pretty fun website, community of basketball fans. Come talk ball with me, ask any questions, whatever you want throughout the day. I'm there all the time. Today, we're going to talk about the big win. The Pelicans finally beat a team ending the 9-game losing streak. 143-130 over the Bulls. We're going to break all that down. We're going to talk about some of the bigger contributions that they got from the young players. Talking Yves, Missi, Micah, Peavy. It's going to be a lot of fun over there. And then lastly, we're going to close it out by finally getting to some injury updates. I've been asked a bunch about Jordan Poole. Herb Jones popped up. I don't know. We're going to talk about all of that later in the show. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. All right, let's get into this game. 143-130 over the Chicago Bulls. The first win of the James Borrego era. I know he has to be feeling over the moon about finally getting his first win. All of these players finally have to feel great about getting another win. They're now 3-15, which is not great. But you have to win some games if you're going to turn things around. They're not out of it yet because that bottom of the Western Conference is kind of weaker. So, you know, it's a good thing. Finally get the win, break the losing streak, and feel good. Let's talk about why they won the game. One thing we talked about on Monday's episode was the pace of the game. The Chicago Bulls are one of the faster playing teams in the league. You saw it in this one. They got 53s up, but they did not get as many shots up as the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans got 24 more shots up. We've talked a lot about the math equations with this team over the past couple of weeks because they're playing slow. They're not getting nearly as many shots up as their other teams, and it's killing them. They're one of the slowest teams in the league, which, you know, it's funny because they are not a super slow team based on the history of the NBA, but this year pace is way up all across the board. And so with the Pelicans only sitting around 100 for a pace for this season, it is it's not going to cut it if you want to win games. You saw it in this one. They got 104 shots up. It helped that they hit 51% of them. So you finally you got some shots to fall. And it felt good to see a game where, you know, teams are going to get threes up, especially like a team like the Chicago Bulls. And they actually hit 20, they hit 40% of them, which is good. But the New Orleans Pelicans, they got a lot of shots up, and the biggest thing, they got their offensive rebounds. They got 15 more offensive rebounds of the Chicago Bulls in this game, and that's one of the things that has haunted this team for a while is not getting those boards. So, 10 of them came from Yves Missi. We're going to talk about Missi a little bit later in this segment, but yeah, that pace, getting the shots up, getting your rebounds, and it leading to more points is a great thing because that's what James Borrego has wanted to see out of this team. And we've talked about him. He was like, okay, well, the biggest thing that as soon as I take over, we got to get faster. And he just hasn't translated into a game. They haven't scored over 120 points since the Clippers game, the 5th game of the year. Was the last time they got to 120 points in the game. They got 143 in this one. Their lowest scoring quarter was that third quarter, which was actually not a blowout this time. They got 34 points up in that one. Zion Williamson, man, is it shocking to see that when Zion Williamson plays, the offense looks better? Is that not a shocking thing? No, it's what we've been saying. We've all seen when Zion Williamson is on the court. This is a much better basketball team. Things move slower. He has a lot of gravity towards him, and when he's playing, good things tend to happen. And that's what happened today. He matched his season high with 29 points on 8 of 14 from the field. And maybe biggest for him is that he hit his free throws. He's not a great free throw shooter historically, but he was 13 of 16 from the charity stripe today. That's a big improvement for him. Trey Murphy, he got 10 threes up. That is what you need to see from Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy should not have a game where he's in single digits for three shooting. Now, of course, that's an exaggeration. That's going to happen. He's not going to get 10 threes up every game, but maybe he should. He hit 4 of them tonight. That's a big point of this game. Sadiq Bey, who was during that losing stretch, he had a couple of games early on, but he had a really rough stretch of games there, and he looked good against the Atlanta Hawks. So it's nice to see him follow that up with another double-double, 20 and 13. Another positive performance. Derek Queen, I'd say of everybody, had the weakest game, and that's just because he wasn't out on the court. And credit to James Borrego in this one, because he did not have the best start of the game. He didn't really fit what they were doing in this one, so they went to Yves Missi, and it worked out. In the third quarter, they rode the hot hands of Yves Missi and Jose Alvarado. Jose had a great game. He was 16 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, vintage Jose Alvarado game. But yeah, you come out of the third quarter, you ride the hot hands. You don't just go to your starters because that's who started the game. And it looked good. They responded well, and they won the third quarter. Fine. Well, they didn't win the third quarter. It was close to winning the third quarter. And then there was the Jose Alvarado had the foul on Trey Jones, where Trey Jones heaved it up, and then he got the 3 free throws, and that put the Chicago Bulls up ahead on the quarter. But we'll count that as a win because they have been getting blown out in these third quarters. So the fact that they were able to keep it within 1 point was massive, and they didn't really allow the Chicago Bulls to close the margin that they built in the first half. Because they scored 37 points in each of the first 2 quarters. I just can't get over the fact that they scored so many points in this one. And, when your stars play like stars, I guess that tends to happen. And then you have the contributions from the bench. Micah Peavy and Bryson McGowan are a couple guys we're going to talk about. I guess Bryson McGowan doesn't really fit in the second segment because he's been in the NBA for like 4 years, but he's been a pretty good surprise. I've liked him attacking the basket. He hit a couple threes tonight. If you play like that, I know it's probably really only because Herb Jones isn't playing that he's getting like 18 minutes in this game. But if you play like that, it's kind of hard to take him off the court because you just need guys who want to play. And, shout out to Bryce McGowan for actually wanting to play in this one. So we've been talking about wanting to see the vision of James Borrego come to fruition. And I guess we kind of have started to see it. They'll have their second practice under him on tomorrow before Wednesday's game against the Grizzlies. They'll probably look at some film, look what worked in this game, see how they can translate that into the next game and build some momentum. At a point, you just need to see shooters need to see buckets and shots go in. Teams need to see wins to be able to build off of them and know that you can do it. This team has been competitive in some games, and there have been some games where they're only competitive in like the first half or first quarter, and then it tails off. But you just need to see that you could have sustained success. It's like a mental thing to where you know that you can do it. So now you've seen that you can win a game, beat a team that has above a 500 record. They were without Nikola Vucevic, who would have changed a lot of that rebounding battle for the Bulls. But it wasn't the only, rebounds weren't the only thing that decided this game. So props to the New Orleans Pelicans for finally coming through, winning a game, looking good. Let's talk about who really stood out in that win. And I think it was, we talked about Williamson and Murphy, but I think it was a lot of the younger players, like your Yves Missis, your Micah Peavy's. Let's talk about what they showed in this game and what you can see from that moving forward, because Missi could still be a building block of this team. Let's talk about that coming up next. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do. Logging in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all in one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood's Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood Strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. You should expect more from your money. Get started today at robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. When I'm hydrated, everything just works better. My focus, energy, mood, and even my beautiful, beautiful skin. That's why I've been using DripDrop. It's doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what my day looks like. DripDrop isn't your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands, using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college and pro teams, and of course, your favorite podcasters. Hydration has become a non-negotiable for me. DripDrop helps me feel sharper, calmer, and honestly, just overall better. I mean, guys, come on. I'm 27. I live in New Orleans. And sometimes I wake up in the next morning and I don't feel so good, if you catch my drift. And DripDrop is something that helps me feel a whole lot better. Right now, DripDrop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to DripDrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's DripDrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNBA for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard, and keep your body and mind performing at their best with DripDrop. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. All my everydayers, drop a comment down below. Let me know if you're listening every day. And I appreciate you listening every day with me taking the reins for a couple of weeks with Jake on his honeymoon. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast, covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Join over 12,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube. You can also watch us on the Gulf Coast Sports and Entertainment Network. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now the #1 sports podcast network in the nation. Come and join me over on Roundtable Pelicans. It's my website where we get to hang out and talk some ball at all times of the day. All right. I want to talk a little bit about the younger players on this team, what we saw from the win, what we need to see a little bit more of in the future. But I think if you're talking about young players, and you have to start with Yves Missi. He was the first round draft pick last year. He played pretty much, I think, more than anybody else on the team last year, just out of pure happenstance of him staying healthier and everyone else not. I think he was the only player to play 70 games last year. So that availability is good. He's missed a couple games this year, but it was an illness. It seems to be past it. It was more of seemed to be more of like a freak thing than anything to worry about in the future. But he was great in this game. 14 points, 14 rebounds, only 2 turnovers, 3 blocks, and he had 10 offensive rebounds. 10 of them. He was a plus 14 on the night. And a 13-point win, that means he was even better than the team overall, I guess I would say. He was aggressive on the boards. He looked good off the ball, and he didn't make the Yves Missi mistakes, is what I would say. This is someone, he's really young. He's 21 still, so don't overreact to his games. His mistakes too much. He's still learning the game of basketball. And I think you can clearly see that whenever he plays. He looks kind of like a baby deer out there sometimes. He looks like he belongs on Shaq and a Fool. But that's just because he's learning the sport, learning how to play it at a professional level still. But just that raw athleticism helps him make crazy plays. And I think it would be disingenuous to say that you don't see a huge leap from year 1 to year 2 with Missi. And that's a great thing because he's in the second year of his contract. He'll be here for a couple more years. And I think he could end up being a pretty long-term piece for them on the deal. It'll be interesting to see what happens with, of course, Zion Williamson and Derek Queen, because if Williamson stays, Queen will be your starting center. But if Williamson doesn't stay, I think you could move Derek Queen to be that 4, and I think you could start Yves Missi. I think you could play Yves Missi with both Zion Williamson and Derek Queen, and you don't lose too much with either of those setups. I think that's a very positive thing. Now, if you're playing with either of those lineups, you're going to need more shooting. So that'll help whatever like Jordan Poole comes back, and maybe Jeremiah Fears continues to improve his jump shot, which I think is a big thing for him. He's 2 of 3 from 3 in this game, but he needs to become, I guess, more of a higher volume shooter and keep that. I guess if he's a high volume shooter, he doesn't have to make 67% of his threes, because that just doesn't happen. But the point is, if you have Yves Missi and one of the bigs out there, I think you need a lot more shooting than they have been getting. But I think that's a big thing for this team overall. You need more 3-point shooting because you're not going to win every game by making just 13 threes. And that is, they made way less than in the last couple of games. I think they had 7 and 8 in their last 2 games, which is just a losing recipe no matter what. So Yves Missi has, I think, taken a huge leap. The team looks, he looks really good. He had a great game in this one, but I think you've seen bits and pieces of that all season long. So I'm interested to see how he continues to progress throughout the season. And I think he could end up being a long-term piece, either of that first big off the bench in a Derek Queen and Zion Williamson world, or a starting center next to Derek Queen, if they can build some more shooting around those two. Either sounds pretty good to me right now. Let's talk about Micah Peavy and Bryson McGowan. So those are 2 people who are getting increased minutes right now, with Jordan Poole and Herb Jones both being out, which we're going to talk a little bit more about those injuries in the next segment. But Micah Peavy looks a little bit like, I guess a bigger Jose Alvarado. He's a little bit younger, but he has that same offensive intensity. And I think he really needs to work on his jump shot, because he is not able to shoot the 3 at all. But he's good at getting those like put back high effort plays, which is sometimes all you want to see out of a rookie. He knows his role. He's a good role player. If he can start hitting those 3s, I think he could stick around for a while in this league, just because of how he plays. And Bryce McGowan has been a little bit of a shock. The team is a plus net rating with him on the court. And I don't think, though that was before this game, I don't think that's going to change after the game, because he looked good in this one. They did lose his minutes by 1 point, but I'm not going to hold him too much on that. He had 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and hit 2 threes. If he can hit 2 threes a game as a bench player, you got to be really happy about what you're getting out of Bryce McGowan, someone who, you don't really think about someone getting a ton of minutes, but he earned them tonight, and he hasn't looked awful. I think he's looked pretty good this year for his expectations. He's played better. He's played above those expectations, I'll say. Now, it was interesting to me that Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen did not start the second half, and we talked about it in the first segment, but that's because they didn't really earn it. They didn't look as good as Jose Alvarado or Yves Missi did. So Borrego was like, all right, we're going to go to the vets, I guess, not the vets, because Missi's in the second year, but we're going to go with the other guys, the bench players, and because they've earned it. They look better. And Derek Queen ended up only playing 17 minutes in this game. He did a couple of nice things. He had 8 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He had a block and a steal, a really nice block down there in the paint, and then a steal. So it wasn't all bad, but I think you could just tell the team looked a little bit smoother with the other guys in it. Jeremiah Fears, 4 of 9 from the field, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Nothing to freak out about with those two. I think they're going to be fine. And you didn't win this game because they didn't play, but you can definitely win games with them. I think more than anything, it's a good sign that you're able to win games without them, because they've been kind of the only bright spots for a lot of this season. So for them to have a down day and then your team still be able to rally around them and then pick them up, play a little bit better, and then win the game is a great sign. So, overall, very positive game for your younger players, your role players that you didn't expect to have as good of a game, I would say. And then for the Dairy Queen, your star rookies, look at the film, see what went wrong, come back stronger in the next game. I have no doubt that these two are highly competitive and will want to perform even better the next game, knowing that they, got less minutes in this one, 24 minutes for Fears, 17 minutes for Queen. All right, let's talk a little bit about some injury updates coming up next to close out the show. Basketball season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real. Getting tickets can be a total headache. It's one of the big reasons that if I'm ever thinking about going to a game, I think about the hassle of actually getting tickets, and it kind of makes me not want to go. Or I say did make me not want to go, because now we have game time. Waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices jump I'm going to read this. Basketball season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real. Getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump out at you right before the checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in. It's the app that gives the fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. While I read this next sentence, I'm also going to pull up Game Time. Their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. And I'm already at Game Time, and I'm already seeing Pelicans tickets for less than $20 because, but you can get tickets for like $18 to play the Grizzlies, $13 against the Timberwolves. You can see awesome basketball for cheap. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. That's more than one single ticket. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. Every dayers in the third segment, that means you're a real one. Drop your comment below, let me know you're here, and ask me a question or two. I want to talk to y'all. And of course, you can always come in over and ask me a question on my website, Pelicans Roundtable, a fun little basketball community of fans talking ball all day. I'm there all the time, so come hang out with me. You can also find me on Twitter at Dilly Sanders. But let's wrap up today's show by getting a quick injury update on Jordan Poole and Herb Jones. Now, Jordan Poole, I think, is the bigger story right now, just because everyone's been wondering where he is. I've been more than anything, I've been asked, where is Jordan Poole? When are we going to hear about him? Finally heard an update. It was the mile left fastest latellar. I'm a sports doctor. I don't do medical terms. It was a quad strain. And he has been out since the November 4th game against the Charlotte Hornets. And you don't really know. No one really knew what was happening, when he was going to come back. On Monday, you finally got the great news that he's been cleared to resume basketball activities. Now, that means he's going to be questionable for probably a couple of games before he's actually back, but he can do everything that you need to do to get him back on the court. Now, in practice, I've seen him like dribbling. I've seen him shooting free throws. And so now you maybe get to see him take some contact in practice and move. I'll be interested to see what we see from him tomorrow after practice, after the shoot around, see what he's working on, and maybe get a better look at how long we're going to need to actually wait to see him come back now that he is resuming full contact on court activities. And he's someone I'm really interested to see get back now that they're in this James Borrego offense, where it's a little bit trying to get it more fast-paced, and that is something that Jordan Poole does very well. He gets up a ton of shots, and it was kind of frustrating to see this season because they're not really falling at a great rate, but he can still shoot the ball very, very well. Going back to that Clippers game is something where you see the Jordan Poole that you want to see. He shot 7 of 13 from 3. He scored 30 points in that game. and he was a game changer. They almost won that game mostly due to him getting hot and shooting the ball very, very well. And whenever he's playing like that, it contributes to winning basketball. We've talked about there's some lineups with Derek Queen on the court and like Yves Missi, these two young players that are playing well. You want to get them out there together, but they need a lot more shooting on the court than they have. Like Micah Peavy, he's been good at what he's doing, but he's not hitting the shots at a great rate. He's not getting up as many shots, and you need Jordan Poole to do that. And so it'll be exciting to see him come back. And now let's talk a little bit about Herb Jones. It was a less fortunate injury update with him. It was weird. He missed the game a couple nights ago with like lower back spasms, and then that got changed for this game, the game against the Bulls, to a mild right calf strain, and then that is what he's been diagnosed with, and he's going to be out for at least a week. They're going to do reevaluate in a week. We don't really, again, we just saw that with Jordan Poole. It was 7 to 10 days that turned into 3 weeks before you finally figured out what was going on and got him back on the court. So we'll see what happens with Herb Jones. And that's a big loss because this defense already wasn't doing too well with him on the court, and not really his fault because that is what he did. Like, think back to what he did against Steph Curry. It completely locked him up in that game and made everyone else beat them. And, that is what they did. But you had the contributions of Herb Jones to do that. You didn't have him today. The Chicago Bulls, you won the game, but the Bulls still scored 130 points. They got up 53s, made 20 of them. And that perimeter defense is what he is strongest at, and you don't have him. That's really concerning. But we got to go before you make sure your second listen is Josh Lloyd over on Locked On Fantasy Basketball. It is one of the most useful podcasts any sports fan could have. It makes you a better basketball fan and fantasy basketball player. Go check him out. It's been Locked On Fellas. I'll see y'all tomorrow.